if AI, this infrastructure will be controlled by just few corporations or few governments, then we can see really bad scenarios.
It's not even a slavery. We're not going to even know it's a slavery. Malicious actor. So someone who actually want to manipulate your opinion or your freedom of thinking around any particular subject, that's it. They own you. We all understand they will replace us, and yet we keep paying them for them to replace us. And in this world, we're all losing the jobs and we're all the moving parts.
We maybe have like 1 year, 2 years. And then it will be too late.
Currently, we're racing towards the wall, towards a really bad outcome. Racing.
What is the darkest scenario that you almost don't want to say out loud? All right, morning, guys.
Good morning.
Very, very excited to talk to you. We've been planning this a little while. So look, I've been thinking about AI a lot. I'm using it a lot, and I'm trying to consider what it means for the future of the planet we live on, especially the world my kids are growing up in. And if AI becomes the infrastructure or part of the infrastructure for everything, electricity, the grid, the internet, money, what happens to human freedom if we can't live outside of it?
This question, like the answer really depends on how we will build this infrastructure. So if this infrastructure will be equally accessible to everyone on Earth, then
it's just increasing the freedom. If it's opposite, it's a complete opposite. It's just like, it's not even a slavery. We're not going to even know it's a slavery.
1984 type of situation that if AI, this infrastructure will be controlled by just few corporations or few governments, then we can see really bad scenarios.
Propaganda? Forget about this word. It's not going to be even visible. It's in every answer. We now use the system to be our therapist, to read news through this, to answer the questions, Google, do whatever, like make calculations. All of it is there, and the trust is going to increase. The less mistakes the system is going to be making, the trust is going to be like enormous, like 100% trust. And therefore, whatever it actually comes in through the malicious actor, so someone who actually want to manipulate your opinion or your freedom of thinking around any particular subject, that's it. They own you.
But if it is part of everything, will people be able to opt out? If, for example, they say, I don't want to live in this world where I'm constantly at the whim of an AI or talking to an AI, as we've seen with mobile phones, there's starting to be a rejection. People want to live in the real world. They want to touch grass, want to eat good food. Will you be able to live in this world outside of AI systems?
That's a good question.
You will be able, but whether you will be able to be at the same time competitive
in the market.
So whether your productivity will be on parity with the productivity of people who use AI.
That's a question mark.
For some, like for really like
for artists,
small amount of people, it will work. But for most of us, it won't.
Do you imagine there will be any form of money that lives outside of AI?
That is really interesting. Honestly, like if you'll go to the extreme, let's say one corporation, like full extreme, not like multiple, one corporation owns all of the AI. And now it actually can replace all of the human labor, whatever, like software engineers, designers, management, marketing, all of this. And then the question is like, are we all going to lose our jobs? Because the answer can be no, if we all actually keep working with each other, not with the corporation. What changes? Like this corporation produces anything for itself. We don't buy whatever they're doing. Even if they're 10 times more efficient, we still can do stuff in between each other as it is today. Nothing changes in this way unless it has been used for control over our decisions. If we can opt out, then we can actually just interact the same market as it used to be, as it is today, Except there is another market, probably, which is like 10 times of what we are doing.
So the biggest issue here is, like with everything, it's the same battle once the Americans kicked the British out of America, where they were trying to develop the Constitution, the battle between decentralization and centralization, which we saw there with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, which we see now with money, whereby we have centralized government money where they print and create whatever they want, and the reaction is Bitcoin. AI is going to present the same issue of centralization.
Not going to, it's presenting as we speak.
The same way as it happened with Bitcoin. First, you will see just few people who realized it.
Who might sound even like super radical.
And who will tell these narratives that we need to be careful about that. We need to
build
alternatives and things like that. But then you will see events after events, which will convert more people. Like with Bitcoin, every financial crisis, every time when Federal Reserve printed another $1 trillion, brought more people
into the belief that there need to be an alternative.
And the same we expect will happen with AI in decentralization of AI, that every time when we see news, like for example with OpenClaw, recently it's an agent, really popular agent, open source, so
anyone can use
hundreds of thousands of people start to use it, and they were using it with Anthropic Claude, their powerful model. So they were excited to use this model, but then Anthropic just shut it down. Shut down only for users of OpenClaw. And it was a big effort for the entire community to try to switch off and try to build everything which is needed to switch off the model. So the access to the model and access to AI is already right now is visible, that we shouldn't take it for granted. We shouldn't expect that those models will be as available for you as they are right now. And when you think about it, you can see how you're already right now making yourself more and more dependent in your line of work, whether you an engineer or you are a business owner or you are a journalist. And in that case, every time when people will see that their freedom is challenged, we expect more and more people to look for the alternative.
I think the word slave is a word we have to be very careful. It is a loaded term, but I'm going to tell you a little story recently. I have been weaning myself off my mobile phone because it was explained to me once, this is like a parasite. And I notice in life, wandering around, you see people with their phones all the time, walking down the street, on the buses, on the trains. They're just glued to their phone. So I deleted in one day around, I can't remember the number, 130, 150 apps. And I've been deleting about one app a day, every day consistently. And I'm trying to get my phone to the point where it's only a tool for booking things, flights, paying for parking, banking, but no distraction apps. I want to get away from it. I'm trying to wean myself off it. But conversely, I'm going deep with AI. I am creating AI infrastructures for my companies where it helps me prepare things, get jobs done. And I'm wondering at what point with AI do I go from it being a tool for me to I being a slave to it?
We have to be careful with this word slave. I agree with you. Some say, from what we see, people around us, like people in the entrepreneurs community, people with multi-$100 million, billion dollars companies, started working more because of AI. They just cannot stop because it's very addictive in a sense, because you just say and stuff happens. Like you just type down your commands and the stuff is happening. Like software being built, marketing campaigns being prepared, emails was written, a GitHub commit was done for you. So it's in a way really addictive, like how much stuff you can do with this, and how this is like an opposite from slavery in a sense. You are a slave master.
But do you know, that's interesting you should say that. I discussed this with somebody the other day, and I said, I think I'm suffering from AI exhaustion.
Exactly.
For two reasons. Because it's made me more productive and enabled me to do more, I'm actually working more. But secondly, trying to keep up with the developments in AI and the changes is close to impossible. And so I'm starting to feel like, do I want to go down this rabbit hole? Do I want to be this guy? Because it's exhausting.
Because the only way to keep up with AI right now is to be unemployed.
Literally, this has to be your job today to keep up with AI. But at the same time, what's interesting is I'm not sure that is that needed. What if you'll skip a couple months and then come back and look at what's happening right now? Like all of the models going to be 2 upgrades further. Some additional tool will appear. This will be replaced with that and stuff like this. And the honest answer likely is that you're not going to be lagging behind. It will take you some time to get into the new tooling set and just continue. So I think that we are overexcited right now, all of us, because like the magic is happening right in front of us. But at the same time, we are addicted to this, and we are and the anxiety of like the FOMO of not being up to date with the latest tools when your friends, peers, competitors, or whoever it is, or your girlfriend is actually doing like knowing more than you in the sense of what's happening in AI. This is real problem right now.
But that's create the dependency. And dependency is already much closer to the slavery. Yes, because if your livelihood, whether you can earn, whether you can actually be productive in society, depends on that tools, then you cannot just stop using them.
Well, if you think about how we've aggregated things with the internet, we have Amazon, which has been very useful as a tool, but terrible for bookstores, bookstore owners. It's centralized everything to Jeff Bezos. If we think what's happened with things like Uber and Uber Eats and Deliveroo, all these companies have created this gig economy where people have essentially the jobs at the bottom rung of the ladder, trying to just make enough to get by. But the kind of upwards mobility there's very difficult. With a bookstore, you could work on your bookstore. You could grow it. You could maybe open a second bookstore and a third bookstore. You know, if you have, I don't know, if you had a coffee shop, you could have a second and a third. But we've centralized everything around technology to make that upwards mobility very difficult. But we have created a lot of super wealthy people at the top. And yes, lots of other jobs have been created. But you know, what does that do for the soul of somebody who wants to have a great life? Well, can I just finish the point? So what I'm thinking now with AI, I will listen to something like the All In podcast, Sachs and Chamath, whoever, talk about the power of AI. I see Mark Andreessen talk about the power of AI. But what I've noticed is, and I take this from an Eric Weinstein tweet, so it's not wholly mine. This is really his idea. He implanted in me. But these LLMs are sucking up all the innovation of human history, and they're centralizing the upside to a fewest group of people. And if the AI starts taking the jobs, these people, they don't have any skin in the downside of AI. And at what point does the AI just start distributing jobs a bit like a gig economy, and we are functionally slaves to the system?
This is the scariest, this is the way we see this. We only have 2 scenarios. One is the one which you're describing. All of us are losing the jobs. Some specific corporation or a oligopoly of like 5 of them who are all basically the same, producing the same product. It's just verticalization of everything within the specific ecosystem, whether it's Apple ecosystem, OpenAI ecosystem, Google ecosystem, or whatever. It's all the same, verticalized from the top, like your intelligence, to the bottom, like your toilet paper. Like all of it centralized in one vertical. And in this world, we're all losing the jobs, and we're all the moving parts. You like
The ants.
the like ants who are like, yes, exactly. So like I was trying to find the analogy, but the ants like of like just bring the stuff from here to here, like a physical world movers for
Until
the
the
AI,
robots do
until
that.
the robots kicks in. Exactly. And this is one world, but the other world, the alternative one, the beautiful one, is in which each of us have the robot. And each of us have the same equal access to the superintelligence. And if it's equally distributed, then each of us just empowered with a tool. It's a new productivity tool. Each will be super productive to the extent which we want to be productive. And we will just continue the same market and the same economy unless we reach, not unless, but until, up until the moment we reached the complete abundance. When the robot and the intelligence which I own can produce everything I need in my life for myself. And now the only thing which is outside of the scope is relationship with other people. And we'll just keep having the relationship. Maybe they're going to be different and weird, not as we expect them to be, not as we have them today. But in this world, like the superabundance, before the superabundance, we can move forward with the equal access to this particular tool. And the more equal it is, the less disruption we will see. And this is all about access.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is there aren't enough people thinking about this as a problem. There's no incentive for the people who run the All In podcast to think about this as a problem because they are Silicon Valley investors who have benefited from centralization. And in some ways, centralization has won over the last 100, 200 years. The Federalists won in the US, the Anti-Federalists lost, but they were correct because look what's happened to the money. The money's been centralized. Bitcoin has such a compelling story, and everybody who's seeing everything go up in price, all the things that are getting expensive and they're losing to inflation, they're still not coming to Bitcoin. And so in the world of AI, where we have these super amazing tools, these incredible LLMs that do things that are like magic to us, how do we get people to even start thinking about there must be an alternative, a decentralized version?
We do have the current situation when people getting more and more scared of where it is moving, and this is important. I mean, I hate the real development to be happening in like within the humanities history from the perspective of fear. Like I hate this, honestly. That's why I want to present the positive picture and rather all of us actually strive for having this better positive future. But the fear is real. I mean, the problem is real, and we can feel it right now more and more, and we will feel it more and more within the next 2 years. I mean, it's going to be super fast.
So currently, for example, you almost every week you see news of additional layoffs.
Another
from
10,000
big
people.
companies. And people should like stop for a moment and think about it. If the claim that these tools increase productivity is correct, then why would you lay
Fire
off people? In opposite, you can do more. Like you can build more. You can like accelerate the economy. So why would you lay off people?
Well, you need different kinds of people, though.
In this case, you still should have more hiring than the layoff, which we don't see. The challenge here is that these centralized companies, they originally, when they start, like with Amazon, they bring us really like great idea. For example, that the goods can be delivered to your home just in like 5
One
minutes,
click.
15 minutes, just one click. And we all buy in this
Narrative.
reality. We really want this world to happen. And then they change the policies. For example, Amazon was like web platform. We're just selling goods. But then they looking at the data that you buy in these goods, and then they offer you generics, which were much worse. And they actually eventually more expensive than the ones which were there on the market. Because when they control the
platform,
the platform, they can actually then manipulate. The same happened with Google. Google promised, I think it was 2003 or 2004, that the ads will never be in the main feed. Only
in the search feed.
In the search feed, only at the side of the screen.
Yeah, but they also promised us they wouldn't be evil, and then they said, "Oh well, we're not going to say that anymore." It's like, well, what do you mean when you say you're not going to say you're not going to be evil anymore? Are you saying we're going to be evil?
So this is a problem. So when we have decentralized protocols, the rules are encoded, and they never change, and that's what creates certainty, that we can all trust the protocol and we all can lean in and be passionate about them. But with those centralized organizations, they don't believe that their statements, which they made early on, should be persistent.
Do you think they're gaslighting us, basically, because there is so much upside to them being right?
What's interesting? Who are they? That's the big question.
Sam, Dario.
Yeah, but you're talking about individual. And then the corporations like Google or Microsoft, it's thousands of people making their own decision for their own benefit and having the bonus or stuff like this. And then there is a layer of investors, like shareholders, who are mainly some funds, like faceless funds. There is no one actual skin in the game in there. They're just making money for someone else. It's a chain of making money for someone else or for your own. And whatever is happening there, like profit. There's nothing bad in the profit unless you actually become the monopoly in specific sector. And this monopolization leads to the degradation of the service, sucking more money. Like we can see this with Netflix, for example. It's just the price is just going up and up and up and up. And the sort of claim is, oh, this is inflation, but it's not. I mean, you can put these numbers together.
Also, but how many times do you switch on Netflix now and you cannot find something you want to watch?
Exactly. It's something which used to be there.
They used to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to House of Cards type of series, and not anymore. Moreover, now they have more users, so they have digital product, which should be the cost should be distributed among more users. So it's actually the cost should be lower, the price should be lower.
But that is inflation. That is inflationary
they're growing
pressure.
higher, they're growing faster than inflation. If you will just compare their pricing points, but still, they increase their audience multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So the cost per user was supposed to go down multiple times, and we don't see that. So our argument that all of these companies, they start with great narrative, which not the bad one. We really want to have it in the world, but then they don't have any incentive to stay with this narrative, and that's what we expect with AI as well.
This show is brought to you by my lead sponsor, Iron, the AI cloud for the next big thing. Iron builds and operates next-generation data centers and delivers cutting-edge GPU infrastructure, all powered by renewable energy. Now, if you need access to scalable GPU clusters or are simply curious about who is powering the future of AI, check out iron.com to learn more, which is IREN.com. Mike Green, who's been on my podcast a couple of times, he's an investor. He talks about monopolies as one of the biggest issues in the economy, and that we have to have competition. If we don't have competition, this will lead to products becoming worse and more expensive.
In moreover, a month ago, there was this podcast of Darkesh
Yes.
with Dario. And at some moment, Darkesh asked him whether he believed that they will still be working with through API model when people pay for AI tokens. And Dario first said that this model likely will persist. And then but, is always but. And then the but was that he said but not all AI tokens works the same. and then he made this example. Then when AI helps you with your MacBook, probably you will be ready to pay less.
So,
But if AI helps you with your health, you will be ready to pay much more.
which from the perspective of, let's say, electricity, we want AI to be as accessible and as available and as cheap as electricity. But from the perspective of electricity, 1 kilowatt of energy providing you with the light in your house, and it's just like you can use candle, whatever. Like you pay less, and then another kilowatt of power is your the tooling for the surgery while you are being operated on open heart. And this
Definitely will be ready to pay more.
if there is a difference in the price of those kilowatts of power, then you will be ready to pay more for the one which is your life is as at stake, rather than the one which is basically having more light in the house.
This is the scenario where we become slaves to the system. We no longer are humans. We are subjects of an AI system.
Yes, that's where we see the difference. So like the centralization, when the access is not guaranteed for all of us by protocols, then we definitely will get to this future. Unfortunately, the leaders of the industry, they even already don't hide this. they publicly state that. So because they right now raising additional like capital and preparing for IPOs, that's why they pitch to investors. And for investors, the idea is that AI tokens can be sold even with a higher tag because of some value which they bring.
Additional value.
Definitely resonate.
Well, they're in a tough spot themselves. They're all competing with this race for superintelligence, which I still don't 100% know what that means, but I kind of know what it means. But they're all in this race for the superintelligence. Who's going to hit it first? And what does that actually mean for them? And they're also in a tough spot because of the cost of running. The power for these LLMs is huge, but the revenues aren't just there yet. They're growing. So they're they have no incentive because of the incentives of becoming the first to hit this spot. So why would they care about the impact on all us peasants?
They will not. They won't. I mean, that's a simple question.
This was our personal conclusion. Since 2014, we were parts of these groups who discussed potential bad scenarios of artificial intelligence. And there were many different point of views of what are the actual bad scenarios, whether it's like Terminator type of scenario, or whether it's just doomsday where we all will be destroyed. But our case was always that most of the worst scenarios, they start from us having AI being controlled by just a few companies. And then when you think through those scenarios, you definitely see that it's inevitable that even if we believe that the original founders have really good intentions and they really want a better better future for all of us, but the way they structure it will eventually still will get us to this bad scenarios.
Quite pessimistic, right?
Well, so I've done a few shows on AI now, and it's often from a place of fear or pessimism. But I always ask the same question: are you a fan of AI? Do you like it?
Honestly, we are. Honestly, we feel that probably AI and the potential future superintelligence is likely the only way out from the shithole we're
heading
towards, with only increasing the speed with which we're heading there. Because AI, in a sense, might, if it will be independent in its structure and in its infrastructure as well, AI can enable immutable bureaucrats, immutable middleman, in a sense, if we will look at this. So
get rid of the managerial state.
Getting rid of any state which can be corrupted, any layer which can be corrupted and which has bias or its own interest.
So you're interested in the idea of President AI?
Our interest in the AI is more like, right now, AI is being used even to design new rocket engines. And when the rocket engine is being designed by AI, the result is something which we've never even thought before. I mean, the shape, the curvature, the idea behind what is happening there, it's alien structure.
Leap 71?
Leap 71, probably, yes.
Okay. Wow, that looks like an alien spacecraft.
Exactly. So, like, think about this. So, when you set up a deterministic AI model, and you set a specific goal for this model, and the model is designed and created for solving a specific problem, then the models can actually come up because of the ability of the model to browse through millions and billions of variations, which we would have spent thousands of years to do the same in the lab, in the researcher lab. Then we can come up with something which looks completely not what we expected, but it actually does the job. It actually gives you the power, the temperature, the curvature, like everything you need from the physical perspective, you will get. So from this perspective, do we need a president AI, or do we need the AI to design a system for the humanity to achieve the most efficient state of self-coordination?
But for that, AI
like a completely decentralized self-coordination, where no one have the lever to get the power to even became the dictator.
So the distribution of power.
The distribution of power, the most efficient system for everyone to achieve in their the highest potential, like this. So we can create the AI model, which will actually inevitably design the system which will increase freedom rather than makes us all slaves. Because current movement towards the slavery is not the AI itself; it's the design of the corporations and the design of the political systems
and the financial system.
And the financial system, political and financial, they're like right now together. Like financial and political system is the same creature today.
Well, so the risk and the problem we face is we live in a financial system where we need money to survive. That is what it is. But it's a system which extracts upwards.
Yes.
Governments always spend too much money. Banks create money out of thin air. It creates an inflationary environment. The assets inflate and your wages don't keep up. And that's under a lot of pressure at the moment. I mean, I think you see on social media, the amount of criticism of billionaires and large corporations is bringing in this kind of new dawn of communism.
Mm-hmm.
People are just nudging us towards communism, which we know like fucks everything up anyway.
Yes.
But you can understand why people are thinking like this, because it's not like in a recession where you lose your job and you hope for the economy to recover and you come back.
The economy is flourishing, someone is getting billions of dollars, and like the bottom is actually getting poorer and poorer.
But those jobs that are going and never coming back, you may have gone to university and trained for, whatever many years as a lawyer, and, once that job goes, there's no lawyer job for you left. Maybe the guy who can coordinate the lawyer agents gets a job. But those jobs are not coming back. And maybe you're 35 years old, 40 years old, you've got 2 kids. And maybe your wife works in the creative industry and her job's gone. It's like suddenly you've gone from a nice life, holidays, kids in private school, and you can't afford shit now. Like, what is the plan for that? And the only answers we're hearing is UBI. So it's not only that AI brings this threat, we have to rethink the entire system so people can live and flourish.
But UBI,
without that.
Yeah, UBI is, from our perspective, is really bad choice, because no one says that UBI will be like $10,000 a month.
Well, Elon Musk did. Universal high income, he said.
High income, yes. But unfortunately, the problem is that if someone decides who
will get
the UBI and how much. That's the
that
world-
someone is deciding what qualities you should be,
How
what
you
you
should
should, how
behave.
you should behave, to whom obey, and do stuff like what law to follow.
They have power.
They have power
have
over
power.
you, and now they dictate everything you can do and cannot do. And unless you do this, you are dismissed of the UBI. And if you do this, you are getting your UBI. Like, this is a shitty world.
So we would
None of us want to live in this shitty world.
So we would prefer the world which Daniel mentioned, when every human on Earth have their own robots, which can create everything which I need to consume.
And think about this.
In this case, it's much better than UBI. Like, you actually have not universal basic income, you have universal
Basic access to the
You have sovereignty.
Yes.
sovereignty. So what's interesting, think about this. Today, I would say probably over 1 billion people, like 1 billion people in the world, will be will have enough wealth, enough capital, enough savings to buy a robot which would cost $20,000. Like Elon said, like, it's gonna get those $20,000. It will get those $20,000. Why? Because the motorcycle is getting there, and the motorcycle has more physical material in it than a future robot. The future robot will weigh 50, 60 kilos. The motorcycle is like a couple hundred kilos. When you think about it through this perspective, the motorcycle is different from the robot only because of the design and the brain. And design is a file, is a CAD file, and the brain is AI. So this difference tells you that the robot can cost $10,000, $20,000. If the robot can cost $10,000, $20,000, and today people can afford it. Still, people can still
Well,
afford
it depends. I mean, if I can afford it, you guys can probably afford it.
A lot of people afford a car. For as many people who can afford a car today, they will be able to afford a robot.
But they might be able to afford the second-hand robot, the used robot. When
The
I get
used-
the new one, you get the new one. We sell our old robot.
And if your robot
Ah,
can do the job,
I wonder if a robot will become like a dog, that you won't want to sell it because you become attached to it.
it's your second half in a sense. You're like part of you. Now this is you with your 24 hours a day. 8 you're working, 8 you're sleeping, 8 you're doing stuff for yourself, and your robot, which is only doing 24 of working, let's say, and which actually increases your productivity 4 times at least. And this is the world in which we can live.
Hold on, what happens to the global wealth divide there? Because yes, in America and in the UK at the moment, although we're heading third world, what if you're in Ghana or Kenya? Not everyone will be able to afford a $20,000 robot.
Yeah, but think about it through this perspective. If we increased our productivity 4 times, if the developed world increased our productivity 4 times, can we afford to build additional robots and then be sending them to the Ghana? And what's interesting, we can even sell it for them for the future share of the robot's productivity. So we say, yes, we build your robot. We're not donating you the robot. We're leasing you the robot for 20% of its labor coming back to us, and 80% of the labor is yours for you to build your life. This is a clear passage towards what we can imagine as a complete abundance for the entire humanity. Unless we do the war with it, we do the fight for power with this, we do the concentration and monopolization, enslaving nations and stuff like this. Like, there are 2 scenarios. Like, they are. This one is inevitable in a sense, unless we do something to move towards a different one.
But if you think about the history of humans, we've always taken the wrong path. We've always taken the path of centralization.
But,
what can I have quick? What can I have now? What's easiest? And there's always been psychopath.
But have we? But have we actually?
We kind of have.
You're right. You're right that there are a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. At the same time, we do have several good examples.
Okay.
We have open source
Operating
software,
system.
which
Linux
dominates in the world of server.
Everything we know about internet and everything we know about protocols today, everything is open source.
Why did that work?
I would say because of a specific small group of people, like not more than 1 million people in the world, highly educated, highly motivated, with a high EQ, like an IQ
Yes.
together, decided that they want to live in a different world. And they committed and contributed towards the common prosperity and common good. And we can do this now because another example is Bitcoin. Few people understand. Yes, Bitcoin is right now, there's a lot of billionaires in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Someone made a lot of money, someone is not making any money. But Bitcoin, if it would have worked as a actual transactional currency, that's the problem with Bitcoin right now, that it's only doing 7 transactions a second, which is not...
That's not entirely true.
Not entirely true. I agree with you. And we can actually upgrade the system to get to the point when it can become the currency. Like I completely can see that working. But what happened with Bitcoin is that over $300 billion was eventually invested towards the infrastructure of Bitcoin. Like that's a lot of money. And it was not the largest corporations of the world or even governments. It was grassrooted community of people, millions of people building smaller data centers, filling them with ASICs, developing new chip designs, building new electrical systems, building new data centers, all of the infrastructure for Bitcoin.
Hold on, but that was economic incentive. There is the other side of that, which is the developers, and there are plenty of developers. I mean, I know some of them who could have gone to Google and got paid $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year, and stock options and become millionaires. And they chose to work on Bitcoin funded by individuals. There's groups of individuals who funded. I've funded Bitcoin developers. So
that's why I'm saying, like,
you need a combination of economic incentives and then people with the right personal incentives.
You need to build a proper market incentive, economic market incentive. Not monopolization and not a gatekeeping, like a completely open ecosystem, which by design, and Bitcoin showed it, drives the price of the service down. What's interesting, the service in Bitcoin, in a sense, it's a strange concept because like the Bitcoin goes in price itself, the Bitcoin. So it looks like it's getting more expensive, but not. Because what we're having... The terahashes which have been produced by this system are getting cheaper and cheaper. We just produce them in an amount which is enormous. Amount of mathematical operations produced by the system per a watt of electricity is getting cheaper and more abundant if we could have used them.
I'm going to come back to you on this 7 transactions a second, just because I want people to understand that is not the reason Bitcoin is not being used as a currency. We are also talking about the base chain. There is the Lightning Network with its imperfections, but if you have a Lightning wallet now, you and I, we can do the more than 7 transactions a second. So it is possible to use it as a currency. The reason it's not being used as a currency is it's become a victim of its own success, in that in a world where the pound is dying, the dollar is dying, the fiat currencies are dying due to inflation, you don't want to use your Bitcoin. You want to spend your dollars. The last thing I ever want to do... Dude, I sold some Bitcoin to pay for the deposit on a house. If I'd had just held on that Bitcoin for 3 years, I could have bought the house outright. And you go through those experiences, you go, oh, I'm just going to hold Bitcoin for now because what we're doing is we're swapping currencies. So why spend it? The same happened in Venezuela. People would, borrow Venezuelan, what is it? The Venezuelan, I can't remember what the currency was. And they would buy dollars, right? That's what they would do. They are shorting the currency. It's what Michael Saylor's doing. Michael Saylor is shorting the dollar because he knows it's screwed. So Bitcoin can be a currency. We just have to kill off the fiat currency first. So I just want to correct that one.
Yes, and that's true. And
we just need to...
We believe, and we actually see a really optimistic sign in that. Because what Daniel mentioned, that the price of the terahash decreased. It's not just decreased, it decreased 300,000 times.
From the very beginning to where we are today.
So it used to that you would spend 5 million joules per terahash. Now it's just 15.
So you're saying the same can be done with tokens?
We believe that with AI will happen the same. You're totally right. But it will happen in the same way only if we'll have the same type of structure which constantly drives the price down.
So
Incentivize building infrastructure more efficient. Whoever is building more efficient infrastructure, getting more coins.
So you need the infrastructure built efficiently, but you need a committed and dedicated, passionate community who say, no, this is the world I want to live in. I don't want to live in Anthropic and Grok and OpenAI. I want to live in this different world.
Yes, and we believe that the same kind of trajectory can be expected. That first it will be hundreds of thousands of people, but then it will be millions of people, then dozens of millions of people. Because every time when we will see another layoff, or every time when we'll see another gatekeeping of the access to the models, more people will convert.
Well, there's another point to this as well. So I am a Bitcoiner for two reasons. There's the financial incentive reason. And the second one, I like anything that takes power away from the government.
Mhm.
I love it. I have my Bitcoin. The government can't touch it. They don't know what I've got. Fuck those guys. Because they will steal everything when they can. So I love it. It's like an anti-establishment movement. It is a grassroots, give power back to the people movement. If there is an AI movement, which is grassroots, which is saying no to the big corporations, no to government, we're going to do our own thing, fuck you, I'm in.
Yes.
That's what we expect. And moreover, Bitcoin also showed that it will not only drive price down, but also the infrastructure itself can be built much larger than we can even expect. Because Bitcoin today is comprised of data centers with 23 gigawatts.
Draining
power.
23 gigawatts of power. It's more than Microsoft, Amazon, Google, OpenAI, Meta combined.
So imagine, when we think about it, whether AI can be decentralized, whether actually the community of passionate people can build something over a similar scale, Bitcoin actually proved that, yes, within the same time frame, Bitcoin exists
For
2 years less than cloud exists. But still, Bitcoin achieved more in terms of really deploying the infrastructure than the entire Silicon Valley.
So financial insensitive and people who are dedicated to the mission, to the belief that the system need to change.
But does this community exist now? Because I can tell you the Bitcoin community, the pockets of resistance where they exist. I know who the people are. Like it's a good community. Yes, gone through some challenges, I think, over the last couple of years as Bitcoin's been financialized and adopted by Wall Street, etc., and government as well. But it's still a decentralized protocol. It's still secure. I still hold my private keys. You still can't get them off me, right?
Yes.
Is there a community around this right now?
It is happening as we speak.
Okay.
So we launched our protocol, the protocol which we built, 7-8 months ago. And it already grew to almost 0.5% of the GPU size of OpenAI, completely decentralized. There is no foundation or company, any structure behind it. It's all the community of people coding, adding the hardware, adding more GPUs, and then preparing the system to be able to be used by anyone in the world.
Is it its own LLM?
Currently, it uses anything which is available as open source.
A bit like Venice or other ones. You can just select the model you want.
You just select the model which you want from the Chinese or the US available, like Gamma or Llama or DeepSeek or Qwen, whatever is available out there. But the whole idea is actually that the protocol is designed so that in the future, not just in the future, but it designed so that 20% of the network's power reserved for training future open source models. So the service which is being sold for the tokens as the utility tokens is inference, but the training of the new models is not sold, is not for sale. The training of the new model is free for everyone to use to train open source model, completely open from the data sets to the training software to the final model.
So you can have a completely decentralized LLM.
Absolutely.
Immutable LLM. Like we in crypto world, we had two major revolutions. First was with Bitcoin, with the introduction of immutable ledger.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned, you send the transaction, no one can stop it. Yes, government can stop it, like no one can stop it. It will be there. Then with Ethereum, the introduction of immutable contracts. So we agree about something, there is a contract, and no one can change it. It will be executed still. It will be executed exactly as it's written on chain.
Have some faith.
It's still a shitcoin.
The shitcoin, not shitcoin. The idea was...
Yes, I understand the idea.
That we need to introduce
immutable
simple script being executed immutably.
Yes, I understand.
It's the same we need with AI. When we have a model, you send your input tokens, you send the request, and you know for sure that the output which you're getting is exactly how the model is defined. Because in reality, most of the censorship right now happens not inside of the model. Most of the censorship happens through the pre-prompts which we don't really see. All these companies, they add in some layers of filters of commands which the model obey. Don't control.
You remember when DeepSeek was only released? A lot of people started asking it harsh questions, specifically in the Chinese policy, like who owns Taiwan? And then the model, when you send the request directly to the website of DeepSeek, the model will say like, we people of China are committed, literally this would be the answer. While at the same time, if you actually run the model on your own local instance, the answer is not like that.
And that's what it's free, like it should be free and things like that.
Well, that's like Google, when you would ask Google with inside the Great Firewall of China about Tiananmen Square, it would just show you some pictures. It's a lovely place, nice part of China. You ask it, it's like, yeah, it's where they fucked the people.
Exactly. So that's the whole point. So it's not the model itself, because the model is trained on data, vast amount of data. All of the humanities knowledge, which was collected for thousands of years, now used to train this 2 terabyte model, which can fit in the memory of one server. This is like the models are tiny in a grand scale. But the model itself is sort of unbiased, unless there was a lot of bias inputted in the data set. But the model itself usually really unbiased, and it's a pre-context, which then filters everything the model answered to you, or filter everything you asked through the model to the model before you even get in the result. So the openness needs to be on all layers. And the immutability needs to be there as well if we actually want to build this immutable bureaucrats, immutable middlemen.
Okay, then I have to ask you, if you're building this and you're right and it's successful, does it make you rich?
In our case,
we have some coins.
We have some coins.
So it's the same.
What do you mean by coins?
Coins. We have coins. So the system which we built have a limited amount of coins, which is 1 billion coins.
What is this, a token?
It's a token.
Is this like a crypto token, or is this a token that is used within the system?
That's why I use the word coin.
Because otherwise, in AI world, tokens are used in a completely different...
So this is like a crypto token?
This is like a crypto token, a currency with a limited amount of coins in circulation. Always will be not more than 1 billion coins in the system.
Fixed?
It's fixed. And you can pay for the inference to be done for you with this coin.
Or you need that coin.
You need that coin to actually use the API of the decentralized AI.
And could you have built it in a way that it didn't need coins? Say, I could have paid with Bitcoin.
Yes, we could. But the reason why we did this was specifically to create this financial incentive, this economical reason for people to rush in and add hardware into the system. If we want to build an alternative to OpenAI and Anthropic and Google, this needs to absorb hundreds of billions of dollars of investment into infrastructure.
So you have to incentivize the early people.
Yes.
A bit like with Bitcoin in the early days. Exactly. If you mined it, you got 50 Bitcoin a block, and then it... Yeah. Okay. So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you have the coins, but who owns the company?
There's no company.
There's no company. Okay. Good start.
In that's
no company, no foundation, no legal entity behind it. A completely open source, completely decentralized. We're not even mining ourselves. Specifically, we found 8 independent miners, Bitcoin people, people with experience in cryptocurrencies, convinced them that this feature needed to exist, they launched the network. The genesis was them.
Okay. Can I ask, what percentage of the coins do you guys have?
The 4 of the Libermans owns 10% of the coins.
Okay, so
2.5 for each of the 4 siblings who was spending last 2 years developing this protocol.
and that's a brother and a sister, right?
2 of us and the 2 sisters.
Oh, it's 2 sisters.
2 sisters.
Where are they? Why are they not here?
They need to be here. I agree with you.
Okay, so no, I'm not going to grill you hard on this. The great thing about Bitcoin is Satoshi Nakamoto, who we still don't know who they, she is.
They,
maybe. We'll talk about that offline. But we don't know who they are. And as far as we know, he had no financial incentive and didn't want the coins. So if you're building a big decentralized network, people just have to be aware that you have an incentive to promote this, and you have an incentive to be critical of the centralized systems. Now, luckily, I agree with you anyway, because I'm a decentralization guy. I'm like, fuck the government. Anything away from that is great. But people should be aware of that.
Yes.
So you should be challenged on that.
And we are challenged on that constantly. Our point, everyone's like, wait, Satoshi didn't take anything for themselves. And at the same time, Satoshi was almost the only, like there was few more people who was mining for the first year or so. And eventually on the Satoshi's wallet, collected something up to 10% of all the Bitcoins ever mined.
Mm-hmm.
In this sense, Satoshi actually got the financial incentive, never used. And this is sort of the same with us. The coins which we got, we even put them in a 4-year vesting. So they're not affecting current issuance of the coins with the miners, like coins which been mined daily.
This is your reward for saving the world from digital slavery. But if you do, you might be 4 of the wealthiest people in the world.
Maybe. And at the same time, this is not only the reward, but this is also a resource for us to compute, to keep actually resistance alive.
Because if you have these tokens, you can use them in two different ways. You can sell them, but you also can use them
to
get compute.
Is there an open market for these coins at the moment?
Only
we're not
created by the
touching this part
community
because we're US citizens. We want this to be completely accepted as a cryptocurrency, completely decentralized. We're not even touching the aspect of these coins to be sold. But in the past half a year, a community built at least 3 or 4
DEXs
already, DEXs and OTC platforms to start trading the coins. So there are availability.
There were several good attempts before to build a decentralized AI. But the
like BitTensor or
main problem is that they all were built on the kind of on the premise of proof of stake. They all get securities through proof of stakes. And maybe it's good for like financial deals, for yields.
Proof of stake centralizes.
Like yes.
But the problem of proof of stake is that all incentives,
all the reward,
just goes towards capital, but not towards the people who build infrastructure.
Yes.
So eventually, even though these projects are great and they achieved good results in terms of market value, but in terms of GPUs actually connected to the network, they weren't so great.
So in our case, imagine like I'm speaking about this immutable bureaucrats of the future. If we want to build a completely different future, we need a lot of tokens, AI tokens, to be spent on something which is not going to be for the financial interest. Something which is going to be for the good of the humanity. And we want to retain this 10% of our coins for our personal usage or for the usage which we foresee that in the future we will need these tokens to run most powerful AI agents, which will be bringing a different point of view on self-coordination of...
Brings a certain amount of responsibility for you guys, and it will put a different lens on this for people. But
yes,
But at the same time, all the tokens which are issued every day, they issued toward miners, in our case, through proof of work system. we kind of going back to the roots, to what Bitcoin introduced, because we believe that Bitcoin actually showed us the path of how we actually can build this massive infrastructure. And the only way to build it is proof of work. When people who can create better equipment, better chips, we used to have the state where NVIDIA was a dominant player on Bitcoin mining in 2012. And then in 2013, it changed because the community of engineers, of tinkerers, they actually found a way how to make better hardware, more efficient hardware.
Some might say it's cheating, but in a sense, it's actually proved the whole point. The insensitive allowed, not the whole point. I doubt that Satoshi ever actually dreamed for this to end up that way. And some people might say this is bad because we're wasting a lot of electricity on the same Bitcoin. The Bitcoin didn't change. It's like we waste more and more electricity on that. But at the same time, we believe that this is actually coincidence or something, whatever, or the world needed this, and that's why it appeared.
Yeah, well, waste is subjective.
Subjective.
Yeah, I don't think Bitcoin wastes any energy. It just becomes more secure.
So what's interesting, like, for example, some might say that Instagram is waste of human beings' time, but then Instagram allowed to create all these billions and trillions of pictures, which then was used to train AI to recognize the world. So, like, was it waste or was it not waste? All of the information which we offloaded into the internet and made public, now used to train AI, which if we drive it correctly, direct it correctly, we can achieve abundance for the humanity, and we can achieve a higher state of freedom, a state of higher freedom in the world, around the world, than we ever even can imagine.
All right, let's talk to you about my sponsor, Ledden. Now, if you're borrowing against your Bitcoin, there's one thing that matters more than anything else. Is it actually safe? Well, Ledden have just dropped their lowest rates ever, but more importantly, they haven't changed the thing that matters most. Your Bitcoin is never lent out. So they're not chasing yield, there's no hidden risk, and there's no rehypothecation. Just collateralized loans done properly. Now, they've done over $10 billion in loans, and they've done this through bull markets, through bear markets, and everything in between. And they've done it without ever losing any client assets. So now you get lower rates, which means the bigger the loan, the lower the rate, and full transparency before you apply. There's no monthly payments or early repayment penalties, and they give you tools to stay in control, from auto top-ups to LTV alerts. So you're not choosing between a good rate and safety anymore, because with Ledden you get both. Now, you can check out your rate using the calculator at ledden.io/Peter. I want to talk to you about one of my sponsors, Incogni. And that means we're going to talk about the weird world of spam. And I don't just mean those spam emails that you get day after day from companies you never heard of and companies you've never signed up to. I'm also talking about those spam phone calls you get from those people who seem to know a little bit too much about you, trying to get your bank details. It's all a bit creepy, right? Now, this all comes from the world of data brokerage. There are companies out there collecting your data, building profiles, and sending that data to anyone who wants it. Which is why when one of those scammers phones you up, they seem to know everything about you. Now, I've tried myself to get off these lists, try to get off the phone lists, try to get off the email lists. I unsubscribe from every one of these emails that comes in, but this game of whack-a-mole, it just never ends. And so this is where Incogni comes in. They do all the hard work for you. They reach out to these companies and they will get you legally removed from these lists. And I know because the last time they sponsored my show, I signed up and I didn't take the free option that they offered me. I wanted to pay for it. I wanted to see if you get value for money, and they removed me from 79 data broker lists. And so I've stayed on. I've stayed a subscriber, and I have seen a massive decrease in the number of emails and phone calls I've been getting. So it's a great service. I recommend you check it out. If you're sick of this like I was, please head over to incogni.com/Peter and sign up. If you use the code Peter, you will get a lovely 60% discount. So that's incogni.com/Peter. So would you say where Bitcoin is a censorship-resistant money, this is going to be a censorship-resistant AI?
Yes,
that's our goal.
Okay. But
that is the only goal we actually even started thinking about.
So let's talk about one of the fears. Let's talk about Mythos.
Exactly.
Mythos or Mythos?
Mythos. I would say
Mythos.
mythos.
So
Myth.
again, I don't know if they said this as marketing, but they feared releasing it because they thought it was too dangerous to be in the hands of the peasants like us because of the ability to find these zero-day hacks like that, these zero-day exploits like that. There's a real fear that we may reach a moment where AI can just break into any system. Anything we've ever said, published, looked at on the internet becomes public. That just everything is released. So they feared it. They said it's too dangerous to release right now. But at the same time, didn't somebody get hack into it by guessing like a thing? So eventually, something like Mythos will escape. It will be there for the public to use. In a decentralized system, there are no controls. So what stops yours becoming like Mythos and more powerful? What stops it becoming having malign intentions?
I would say put in the perspective, a different picture in perspective. Currently, AI is less available for people who actually do open source code. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
We used to spend our time. Now we don't. Now we need to spend not only our time, but a couple $1,000s a month on tokens to be up time with what for-profit software can do, for engineers for-profit companies can do. So the underlying layer of the internet ecosystem, FreeBSD, Linux, protocols, this and that. The claim for Mythos is that, look, there are mistakes and the systems can find those vulnerabilities, so we will withhold access to this in order to not end up with bad actors to use this against humanity. But with the slowly development of systems which are available for almost free towards the open source developers, they would use it as well to fix all of the bugs before they will be even exploited.
I'm going beyond the bugs. That's the bug level. But one of the big fears with AI is when it starts to act dangerously. There's like malign intentions. Now, nuclear is a great technology. We all agree nuclear is great technology for creating power.
Used as a weapon?
Yeah, used as a weapon. Yeah. I mean, we can make arguments it's made us safer or more dangerous. Who knows? But just for power, it's a great technology. But we don't want every person in the world to start building nuclear reactors in their home. We want that just in certain places. If we have a fully censorship-resistant open source AI, are we essentially releasing the future super powerful, super intelligence to everyone? And do we even know the consequence?
Are we releasing or are we creating the competition of billion people using the same AI?
Can it be the same thing?
So you're right that if we look at all potential scenarios, there is a scenario like that, and it has a probability. What we say, there are more likely scenarios, like bad scenarios, which don't have just like 1% probability, which have like 20% probability, which we should also care about. And if we really create superior intelligence, it is likely we won't be able to stop it. Like we should admit the killer switch is unlikely we will be able to invent it.
But if the state fears it, there are bottleneck constraints around 3 or 4 companies.
Which
3 or 4
state?
Well, yes,
and that's when we get to the Cold War of multi-parties actually threatening to each other with the nuclear power.
But what I was saying, there are the bottlenecks. There's the energy infrastructure. There's the data set. There's all the different parts that
Chinese will have more data centers and more energy.
So you're now bringing to the table, is it AI 2027? But that's a fair discussion.
So the question is so that we don't see a scenario when any of AI labs will stop development.
No, I agree.
Because they won't be able to stop because others will not. So they constantly in the race.
Both domestically and internationally.
Moreover, we don't expect that some of them will be able to keep access to these models from anyone else. Still, someone in these companies will have the access. Why the hack happen? Because eventually you don't have this in sandbox, which no one have access to. Moreover, when they do this, when they limit the access before the superior intelligence, they do it right now. They actually don't allow everyone to be more protected for the future AI which will come. Actually, the gradual deployment of this model, rollout of these models, actually helps us to be more and more prepared. Because the dangerous thing is where this jump of the capabilities will be too
extreme.
big, too extreme. But if it's gradual, then this superior intelligence will not be fighting with the humans with just spears, but it will fighting with the humans with like one version
of AI, earlier. So what's interesting also is the power. In a decentralized network, how would superintelligence aggregate this amount of resources, coins, to pay for its inference? Because it's millions of actors who need to provide this resources to this superintelligence, for the superintelligence to be that powerful so it can actually make a significant harm. Inside of a corporation, all of the resources they have, they can click one button and all of the resources will go towards a specific model. So in a decentralized network, the chances are much higher that there will be multiple actors with a lot of resources inside the same network, openly competing with each other. Because it's blockchain. Everything is open there.
Also, I trust much more to open source communities that they will be careful and they will, when they train, they will actually do the due diligence. Like, for example, right now, most of the AI safety people, they struggle because they don't have enough compute.
They seem to all be quitting.
So no, I mean, like independent researchers.
They seem to be all quitting, exactly, because inside there doesn't have enough resources, but outside they have even less resources.
So we have friends who give grants to different research groups. And what they found out that through the last year,
the only reason
the shift changed. The shift was there that 90% of the grant request is for compute. Because AI researchers also need the compute to test the hypothesis to actually make it safer.
Does if you're correct and you're successful, does your decentralized AI network weaken the nation state?
That's what we
that's what we expect, maybe even hope, but not weaken in the sense like making them weak. Restructuring.
Sure, but in that scenario, does the country who operates on centralized LLMs, China,
our enemies,
do they have more power over the country that is now decentralized?
So we see that the opposite. So
I'm not sure you do. You gave me a little look.
No. So I wanted to restructure the position here. Currently, Chinese doesn't have as many resources as the US have. So it will take them another several years before they will even be able to get to the level where US stands. Unless the technology actually developing towards increasing efficiency significantly, like 10 times every year. The token is going to be cheaper 10 times every year. The new chip is going to be more productive than 10 times more productive every year. Unless we see this. And in decentralized network, we see that on an example of Bitcoin, the building of this infrastructure can be much faster. Specifically because it's everywhere and nowhere, and specifically because everyone is participating in their own interest. So, can the Chinese have the most of the resources? Probably, maybe, but I personally doubt that they will if we will be able to outcompete US, we will be able to outcompete Chinese for sure.
in that what we also see in terms of national states, that yes, there are these two major players, but the rest of the national states, they already right now concerned, and not concerned that they will not have the power over their people, but they concerned that actually they will need to obey to either US or China positions, because they will need to have access to AI. And from this perspective, what we found out that actually
the rest of the world, the rest of the 200 states
are super supportive of decentralization.
Well, of course, because they don't have access.
Exactly.
Because actually this actually
they have
removes
all
the
the
power from anywhere.
They
So
have
it
all the
creates
resources to build the most powerful decentralized network, if it's their only alternative. And this is, in a sense, their only alternative. If they want to have access to the most powerful network, which will be decentralized, because each of them cannot have their own most powerful system, because they're much smaller in terms of economical power than Chinese or US, then together, combined, they will be able to build the internet of AI.
Well, I also look. I'm of the position that properly decentralized, you are stronger than a centralized network.
Mhm.
And I think of that in the world of the nation state and Bitcoin. So let me give you an example. At the moment, the UK where I live is a shithole. It's collapsing. It's turning third world. It's going very Marxist, communist. The future for the UK is not great at the moment, but we can't out China because we still want to give off the air of freedom, the air of democracy, that we are a free nation, blah, blah, blah. So we're doing crappy China at the moment, and so China beats us. I've always felt like if we did the opposite of China, we're completely decentralized the money, decentralized the power, you are stronger because you have a much more strong network, because the weakness comes from a few people, a few choke points. If you distribute the choke points, you become a lot stronger.
If you build an economy which consumes 6 billion people, not the billion of the Chinese,
you're stronger.
You're stronger. I agree with this completely. If you increase the speed of economical relationship of the market by doing this decentralized and on-chain and all digital and no gatekeeping, you actually build a stronger economy. If you can build a stronger economy than the China or the US, you're winning.
So the journey from where we are now to where we are in 10 years, I feel like this is the scary period because we don't know what's going to happen.
And unfortunately, there are also
All
definitely
sorts of-
all of the current powers are
against
pushing
pushing
the
hard
world.
and fast against what we are saying. Like they're pushing in different world, completely different world. Even if they don't do it on purpose, it's just the way they do stuff today.
But they are a small group of people
They're completely
compared
small.
to the very large group of people who have skin in the game on the downside.
What's interesting,
Yes.
even in the United States, we should understand that there's like not more than a dozen corporations which are winning from what's happening right now, and the rest, hundreds if not thousands of billion-dollar companies in the United States, they're all losing
And they're
from
all
these 10 companies
concerned,
winning,
yes.
and they're all concerned. So even for them, even for the rest of the United States, having a decentralized, completely equally accessible public AI network is a win.
I again want to be careful with my wording, but this also feels like a war footing. So what I mean by war footing is that I did an interview this week with Andrew Wilson. He's a conservative guy. He refers to himself as a Christian populist. He's very concerned at birth rates. I think the birth rate we require for stability is like 2.3 children per
Mhm.
person. But really, he thinks we need to be getting back to 3 or 4. He's very concerned by that. He's concerned by the propaganda that's used to kind of subvert the family unit. And he said that we're essentially in a war footing trying to reverse this trend. We want people to be able to own a home, get a job, and have children. We want that. That's really important. And I agree with him, because what happens to humanity if we're not replacing our old people with new young people? But he refers to it as a war footing. This is so important. It's consider it like a war.
Mhm.
Again, being careful with the term war. But at the same time, the future of humanity is being challenged by AI because there are just a variety of people who have a variety of different kind of theses on what is going to happen. Like, will the AI kill us all? Will we end up in the Matrix? Will it be Ready Player One? Will it be who fucking knows? Like, some people say, "Oh, you're being crazy. None of that shit's going to happen." Other people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to be an AI safety researcher anymore because we're all going to be dead in 3 years." Nobody actually knows. We just have ideas, right? But if the majority of people are going to see their lives hollowed out and their experience of life become harder because increasingly labor is going to AI and not being replaced, and we live in an inflationary system whereby they're just running to keep up, we are essentially in a war footing to try and, as all the peasants come together, to fight the powers.
That was exactly why we called the protocol Gonka.
They called it what?
Gonka.
Gonka, yes.
Which means
the race.
That we actually don't have much time, to actually
it's sort
create
of an arms race in a sense.
To create the alternative, we maybe have like 1 year, 2 years, and then it will be too late.
How do you convince people, though? This is the challenge.
So I think
that's why we're here.
No, because decentralized technologies always are a challenge on the user experience. If you look at Bitcoin, using Bitcoin when you first using it compared to like pounds and dollars, pounds and pence, dollars, cents, they're very easy to use.
Yes.
It's like, oh, there's 100 cents and a dollar.
Bitcoin was impossible to use.
Yeah, well, it's not impossible. No. It's actually, I think it's very easy to use. But there's a friction the first time you use it because it's different from using the dollars. Plus, also, if you make a mistake, you send it to the wrong address, you can lose it. And also, you send this long string of characters, and you have to worry about it being hacked and stolen. There's all these things that it's new. And the original wallets were, firstly we had the command line interfaces, which were very tough to use, and then we got the simple. It's just a challenge. Can what you've built look like, for example, I've played with a couple of the privacy-focused AI tools, and they're just not as helpful and easy to use as Claude. And so, are you able to build something that feels as good and looks as good?
That's why we started not from a chat or a tool, but from API.
Okay.
That's why we actually honestly not building anything but the API. Because as soon as you build API, you're actually focusing on others developing something on top of your API.
Okay.
And the whole point of the Bitcoin tokenomics, like Bitcoin-like tokenomics, which we decided to utilize in our network, is in ability to subsidize the growth of this network from a perspective of the coins being mined and issued, and therefore the miners being rewarded with the coins issued, not with the coins paid. There's a balance between coins issued and paid. So at every particular moment, coins issued and paid together combined need to be higher than the cost of mining, than the cost of providing the hardware, hosting the models somewhere.
Hold on, just sorry, take me back a step. What role does the mining play in your infrastructure?
So in our infrastructure,
imagine that you have a GPU server which can run
a model,
large,
let's say DeepSeek, or Kimi.
Then, from your perspective, you don't need to think about the developers. You don't need to think about the other sides of the market. You don't need to think about sales of renting this out. You just install the software the same way as you do with Bitcoin mining, and you participate in mining, and you get your coins.
Now you can sell the coins or hold the coins. It doesn't matter. Depends on your risk profile, but what you do is essentially you provide the AI services without even knowing that you're providing the AI services for a decentralized network. Then people connect with API and they pay for the API requests, but they can pay much less today. Today, particularly, the price is going to be tens of times lower than anything you can find on the market today. So our vision on this network winning is because of this structure, because of the additional financial incentive for the miners to join, the future worth of the coin, at the current worth of the coin, they're getting the subsidy in a sense for providing AI inference much cheaper to the developers, much cheaper than anything else on the market. And it's API specifically so that others are building, the builders who want to build better products using this instead of using instead of using Opus or GPT.
I understand.
Moreover, what we see right now, like people, like humans, they are really like you see the inertia. It's really hard for them to switch from ChatGPT or Claude if they already used.
You said yourself, like you was using Grok and ChatGPT before you actually discovered that Claude is actually doing a great job.
Yeah.
But what we see already right now with the network, that agents are not like that. Agent, as soon as, for example, some users installed OpenClaw and used Anthropic model, and usually after a week they see this bill
with hundreds of
dollars a week. So they just ask the agent, "Can you find a way to be
cheaper?"
And the agent itself then have the single goal to find, because it's open source, no one affects that, single goal to find the
cheapest inference provider. And as soon as its agent itself is looking for the cheapest provider, it will end up finding open router. And inside of the open router, they will find the open weight models, which are already cheaper, and the providers which are already cheaper. But as soon as our network is there, they will be able to find our network API, and just the success of the network is guaranteed.
Originally, when we built it, we thought that most of the usage will come from developers who develop different apps to their users. But what we see right now, most of the usage is actually agents. And it's already right now. And that's the reason why Jensen on the recent conference mentioned
proclaimed that this the OpenClaw is like an iPhone moment for the AI.
Because the usage of AI actually tripled through the last couple months.
Because of usage of AI tripled because of agentic systems, because of systems like GStack, Get Shit Done, OpenClaw, Hermes, and others.
So, and that's where we believe decentralized networks will play even
more important role.
Because imagine the system where the decision for provider of AI service is made by AI. And the only goal is to make like better service for user and cheaper for user.
Better and cheaper service for user.
So they will likely more and more
lean towards
decentralized AI.
Okay.
Moreover, it will be easier for them to pay. Because of the crypto, it would be easier for them to pay. It's natively for them to pay in digital currencies rather than the regular currencies.
Using the bank
account. Let me ask you, do you consider yourselves as businessmen, or do you consider yourselves as activists?
More of activists.
So we already built companies before and sold company. Our company in 2016, a computer vision company was acquired by Snapchat for $60 million.
This was the first time we were ever employed by anyone, Snap. But before that, it all started with activism. So 2001, it was all about activism for us. Building open source software, building decentralized network. And then we realized that there is another way. And this another way is venture capital. Growing back in Moscow, we didn't have actual access, but we just was reading and observing from the other side of the world what is going on in Silicon Valley. And for us, it was like, this is it. The Google is doing good and changing the world. All of those corporations, all of those no corporations, but all of those startups, companies, they raise capital and they build systems which then can change the world for a better. This was
make some money.
So we started focusing on startups, and with every single startup, we were looking at an angle through which we can continue our activism. Like we started developing an online game because we saw that we will be able to promote freedom and show different coordination in the massive multiplayer online game. The business ended up to be much harder than what we expected, so it failed. But then after that, we started focusing more on computer vision, as something which was sort of natural. Like you develop computer graphics and you move to the computer vision, and that's where the major financial success came to us. But for us, it was always about the mission, and the mission was always about increasing the level of freedom to the extent when we will go past the national states.
So as an activist, you're really building a company, or sorry, not really a company because there's no company. You're building a product because of what you fear is going to happen in the world.
This particular, we've been building these businesses to make money and then spend money on the activism. And then we realized 3 years ago that that's it. It's all, there is no time for us to make money for the activism. It's either right now we will shift all of our focus on building decentralized AI, or we're done with all of our ideas.
This is existential for you.
This is existential for our vision of what we wanted to build in the world.
Or the world you want people to live in.
The world we will be able to, exactly.
Yeah. So what is your message, like the mission that you want people to really hear? Like if somebody's listening to this now and they're like, yeah, fuck off, I'm using Claude, whatever. What do you really want to land? What message do you want to land?
Listen, so currently when we pay for all of the AIs, we pay for the corporations to build the infrastructure. And they will build it using our money to then replace us. That's the funny irony behind what is going on. We all understand they will replace us, and yet we keep paying them for them to replace us, for them to build this massive infrastructure, spend billions of dollars, and they can only raise this money because investors expect that we will keep paying them subscription or per token or per API request payments, and that's how they will get the revenue for them to then replace us.
They're like heroin dealers.
Exactly.
Here's a free one.
Instead, we can spend tiny resources right now to help the decentralized alternative to be built and look at how it's developing. If anyone is just switching to use our network, it's going to be much cheaper. Yes, it's maybe not going to be as great as Opus because it's Kimi or DeepSeek. And at the same time, the latest Kimi or latest DeepSeek are quite good. They will be in top 10, top 20 best models in the world of the frontier models. Not just like any, but comparable to frontier models. So the service is going to be that cheap that it's going to be, it will not matter as much for this to be not as good as Opus, let's say, specifically for agents. And we can see this on the Open Router data. More and more in the top 10 used models through the Open Router, it's open source models, because cheaper means better when we're playing the agent game. Because agents are reasoning and agents are spending millions and billions of tokens to achieve the results, and you need the result. You don't need the precision in the same sense when you writing a text through.
So instead of paying to these corporations to build the infrastructure, which they will eventually sell to us, we can build infrastructure together and have the co-ownership by having the tokens of the system, so that we all benefit from the infrastructure which we together build.
Yeah, so how does this work on the next layer with so the power is the big bottleneck right now. People talk about power, access to power. It's like gold dust at the moment.
You mean electricity?
Yeah, electricity. So there's companies who've built massive infrastructure, massive data centers to power this. How in this world are they still a supplier? They're still a necessary supplier. They've just got a different customer.
Power is not a problem. Power is only a problem in the United States. Because
when it's concentrated.
And when it's concentrated in a specific point. Data centers which provide inference does not need to be in one place. Because the model itself, when you send your request, not that it's actually being not that it's using thousands of GPUs. It's only using 8 GPUs in one specific server. The model itself fits in a shared memory of 8 GPUs, and that's where it is. So if a server with 8 GPUs standing in Africa and another one standing in Algeria and another one is Chile, across the world,
But sure, but what happens to these big data centers? Can they just switch and plug into this?
They
So,
can.
so actually, that's what's happening partially. Like, for example, in our network, first we saw professional miners, people who
Experienced
mined
miners.
Bitcoin before,
Ethereum before.
they know what proof of work means. They jumped in and joined. But then we also saw several neo clouds, the smaller data centers, not AWS, but smaller data centers with
20,000
GPUs. And they wanted to just try it out. So they connected some of their spare GPUs to the network. And then in a month, they saw that they actually earn much more than from the GPUs they were renting out. And they added more. And then they added more. So from this perspective, this principle. So, for example, United States today consume around like 1.2 terawatts, while all the data centers consume only less than 20 gigawatts, less than 20 gigawatts.
And then
So-
AI itself is probably around 5
right?
in the United States.
So
5
it's
gigawatts.
actually a tiny part. What problem right now that they are trying to build this massive data centers just in concentrated, just in one place, and that's where they get all of these troubles with power. Actually, people around the world have much more available power generation capacity than
a specific data center or corporation. What's interesting is some might say, yeah, but they are everywhere in the world, therefore the ping is going to be worse. But the trick is the delay,
latency.
Latency. Mostly is coming from the GPU work, not the network. So the network is going to be like what? The bad ping is going to be 300 millisecond, while the model itself is actually like the time to first token is like over 1 second.
Sure, but like if I wanted, say myself, I'm like, okay, I love this. I want to run this. This is cool. Could I go to a data center and say, look, I just want to partition some power for me?
That's what people do.
That's what people do right now. The majority of the GPUs in our network right now is this. People who believe that this need to happen.
Well, it's a bit like Amazon Web Services, right? They could be.
There are neo clouds renting out GPUs, and people just come to them like Together AI, G-Core, Nebius, Hyperfusion, and others who providing GPUs for companies.
Are they hyperscalers providing GPUs?
They're not there are hyperscalers like Amazon providing GPUs as well. It's just more expensive with them. There are like smaller, mid-size, small mid-size data centers providing GPUs to companies, to startups, and they are very efficient in the sense they need to compete with the hyperscalers, and for that they need to be cheaper and more efficient. And people right now, majority of the almost 4,000 GPUs in our network right now comes from people renting out from the neo clouds and then installing nodes on these servers.
What happens if you're not successful? Like, what if the safest thing for humanity is not what the market chooses?
So unfortunately, what we expect in that case, that models will be
models will divide in 2 tiers: the closed tier and the public tier. What we have right now is public tier, and the closed tiers are only going to be available for governments and selected corporations, like 10, 20, whatever, whoever is complying with some agenda behind what's going on politically and economically within this corporation.
How everything works all the time.
How everything works, except at the extreme.
This time the power will be the power of those systems.
I'll give you an example. If the model will be capable, when the new Opus, like 2-3 versions from now, will be capable of rewriting a software by just saying like, hey, I like this app, create me a copy of that one, but completely new from scratch, so that no one can actually even say that the code is the same, like no similar line of code. So it's completely different app, but doing exactly the same. Then a corporation like Google can easily say, oh, there it is. We have a statistic of the top 1,000 applications in Google Store, which are mostly used by people. We don't need the rest of the 100 million applications over there. We just close the Google Store whatsoever. And we then give subscription access, let's say $200 a month, to all of the 1,000 top applications which most of the people use. Completely rewritten by their own algorithm. And now they can charge not 30% of the third-party developers, but 100% for them.
This is the technical answer. What happens if this?
What happens if this is happening is we are moving towards economical dependency.
Yeah.
Like, specifically of younger
Definitely
experts, professionals.
We should expect the government will have more control.
Government
you
will
already
step in.
see hear it from people like Eric Schmidt that likely frontier labs will be nationalized,
All frontier
like that, or like semi-nationalized through
China. Everything in China is already semi-nationalized.
Yes, with China, a Chinese model, we expect the same. So they right now open. So they right now
Open
give
source.
you access to the models so that you can actually download them and install on your own server. We believe that in a year from now, it won't be like that.
Maximum 2 years, but likely in a year from now.
It's the same, because they use open source just to catch up, to get to the frontier state. But then they likely will close. We already see it so that they actually delay the public launch of the
newer model.
open source launch of the newer models. And so you need to use their service, which is much more expensive if you want to use the latest
more
models.
controlled.
And more controlled, like for sure, like censored and controlled.
More censored and more controlled.
So that's what we expect.
Less freedom, like clearly less freedom. Like everything is going to be controlled for the sake of our own safety.
Yes, it will be always for the sake of
always for the safety of our kids. Always the safety of our kids. Always. And therefore undisputable. And that's only the question of 2-3 years from now.
You think within 2-3 years we're going to descend into an authoritarian, dystopian future?
Our hope that decentralization will
not
allow
what your
us...
hope is, what your fear is.
What our fear is this. Because look at what's happening with war everywhere. Therefore, more safety, less access. We will see some drone attacks.
Why 2 to 3 years? That seems...
Because look at the speed of development currently. Look at how far we get from what was 3 years ago.
In 3 years,
AI models right now helping to write new versions of AI models. It's already happening right now.
That's the recursive loop.
That's the recursive loop. Engineers are mostly not writing their own code themselves. They use AI to write the code and then they review and then give another task. They launch multiple agents at the same time, doing different parts of the code and then reviewing and combining this all. This is efficient and this is empowering. You can create much more than we could have imagined before. So the speed at which these technologies will be developing is going to increase.
So could you be too late?
We may be already late.
Some days we wake up with this feeling that maybe it's too late. Every time there is some announcement that
of another $100 billion invested in the data center there and there,
So, for example, recently in the last months, we were reached out by some of the miners in the network who were asking, do you know where we can get GPUs? Because there are no available GPUs in the market. So they wanted to rent out to actually
some people who wanted to put millions of dollars into mining Gonka. They cannot find GPUs right now. Because it's hard to find GPUs right now, especially for the short-term rental.
Do you need the Jensen GPUs or can you use other ones?
Currently,
that's our hope, but it's hope. Our hope is that actually because we already have really great people in the community who previously were developing ASICs for Bitcoin, that they actually already right now ready with designs of new type of hardware which will accelerate AI like 10 times at least next year. But they need to be in time. And we hope also that they won't be just acquired by NVIDIA.
As Grok was, or as like Cypress is being submerged into OpenAI and stuff like this.
So for that, we need to be sure that they actually got these incentives when they understand that they don't need to be just sold to a corporation, that they can just produce the hardware, connect to the network, get the tokens, and then continue this loop.
So what's interesting, if the price of the coin will just go up, then for the people who own GPU right now and who rent them out to some other companies and services, they will be able to see that they can make much more money.
Financial incentive.
They will be able to make much more money from installing the node of the decentralized network. And therefore, actually, honestly, even then providing this, it's not just eating this hardware as Bitcoin would have done. It's providing the inference cheaper. And then you make money out of the coin price going up.
You said you wake up some days and you're like, oh. And you've also were part of a group that kind of thought about different scenarios. Like, what is the darkest scenario that you almost don't want to say out loud?
Darkest scenario is that actually, first, if you cannot produce anything which other people would want to consume, and it's a big question of meaning in the life. And from this prism, the darkest part is if we won't be able to coordinate, if we won't be able to change the course, then there won't be humanity anymore. It's just, can it be something more darker than that?
Same?
I would say that the darkest will be the war. The actual real war.
What is the war? Is it a war between nations, or is it a war against the machines?
Not against the machines. I think that we're not even get to the point of the war against the machine before we'll start the war against the corporations which are stealing all of the jobs and the nations which are actually benefit most of this development.
So you see a war between
the poor and rich, the war between those who have access and not.
Well, that is a war that's happening right now. It's a war of words.
It is happening right now. That's why I'm saying, like, it is happening right now.
It is happening right now. In the UK, the fastest growing party is the Green Party, led by a guy called Zach Polanski, who is a socialist, therefore communist.
Leaning towards the ideas of the past is not going to help us.
Well, certainly ideas that have never worked.
Especially the idea which never worked. Like, look at what's happening with Russia right now. Like, did the past help it? I mean, not even now. Like, they are looking in the past and they're hypnotized by the failure of the future. This is a trauma, national trauma, which leads them to starting the war with neighboring nation, and millions of people are dead already in the course of like 4 years.
Millions?
Millions.
I read this morning that Putin's popularity is falling fast. Can you talk about this?
Unfortunately, not fast enough.
We cannot get back to Russia. That's why we
can't go back.
We can't go back.
You enemies of the state.
We already said too much.
You said too much.
Unfortunately, maybe not too fast. But as always, this might collapse and will collapse unexpectedly. And that's what we hope. But at the same time, the KGB, the FSB, whatever they call themselves right now, and KVD, they used to call themselves 100 years ago, they are very adaptive and survivable structure of psychopath.
This is the issue. We experience that all the signals are visible quite early, but people just don't want to react. Like, for example, in 2012, there were the huge attack within social media on every opposition mind in Russia. And we made an investigation and found out that it was made by
All bots.
the network of hundreds of thousands of bots, which
In
were
social-
all created in 2008. It was accounts registered in 2008. Then they had connections to real people. They were having conversations with
KGB
real
was
people.
infiltrating Facebook earlier than anyone could have imagined.
I think I heard on Rogan that 19 of the 20 biggest Christian Facebook groups were Russian bots.
Yeah.
It might
So
be.
we at that moment we approached some of our friends
Working at Facebook.
working at
Top,
Facebook,
like,
now
top
it's
enough, like
Meta.
high enough in the chain.
And their reaction was, Russia is not as important market for us.
So we don't have to deal with this now.
And first it was just like, what? Like,
You don't understand.
eventually it will affect everyone. And it won't be, and we won't be able to stop it later.
Part of the reason this war is still going on is because the West was delusional about what was going for real. Like the second largest army in the world, and then obliterated by the smaller army of Ukraine.
So from this perspective, what we see that signals of these bad scenarios, they're quite visible early, but you need to pay attention. The same right now happening with the AI. The signals out there. People, you don't need to be
People
the
just say,
smartest
like,
person
"Oh,
on the
this-
earth to see that.
The Mythos situation is just the marketing. Yes, they probably use this as marketing, but this is also a signal, and they look at the reaction. Is everyone okay with them having two different tiers of access? The special access and
Because they've given
the market
access to the companies, the Apple and
Selected companies. So they, for example,
So this is propaganda.
yes, they for example,
This is concentration of power.
They mentioned that this is for security because they need to secure major banks, and then they gave it to JP Morgan Chase.
But what happened with
what with other banks?
Swiss bank?
Or like with European banks. So if you're really concerned about protecting people
The system.
around the world, the rollout will be different. But here, the rollout is the companies who pays you more. And is it
It's a concentration of power.
in these models have this recursive nature that if you give someone the latest model and you won't give it to everyone else, there's someone getting unfair advantage in the market. And all of us are ready to pay. So it's not about money. They just gate who can get the access.
Now they have more money to pay back, and we're all losing. Now we're having less money, so we cannot pay. And this is a recursive structure through which pretty soon, really soon, we will find out that this chunk of US corporations are paying most of the money to like, imagine what happened with NVIDIA, for example. NVIDIA is selling their GPUs, almost like 90% of NVIDIA GPUs going to like 5-6 US corporations. Not that anyone in the world would be ready to pay. Everyone in the world will be ready to pay. It's just like the decision made back in 2023 to concentrate in US. It's a political decision and a power decision rather than economical decision.
Moreover, the entire development of NVIDIA happened because all of us gamers use their GPUs and made the advancements. CUDA, which right now used for AI, mostly were used by game developers around the world, actually contributed to that development. But now it's gated. Now
It's used against us. It sounds
too dark,
scary and too dark, but honestly, at the same time, we're very optimistic because the technology itself, if rightly done, and I'm not saying like safety or something, distributed, equally accessible,
permissionless,
permissionless, immutable, all of these words which we learned the hard way. We created them through the last 16 years of the blockchain development.
Bitcoin development.
Bitcoin development. I agree with you. Honestly, I agree with you. It's all about the Bitcoin. All of this principles, they showed efficiency. They showed market efficiency, and they showed the public benefit efficiency. If we will be able to coordinate right now, similar but faster to what we did with Bitcoin, and we really hope that it is possible. Just because, like, imagine, yes, Bitcoin is 16 years. Yes, the major development only happened throughout the last 10 years. But there are people who truly believe, and there are millions of them, and there are millionaires because of the Bitcoin. And
You need that community to come to this.
We need that community to come to this. Well, and we're not saying like, oh, we're building next Bitcoin, so go buy. Like, fuck this shit.
No, this is a mission.
Whereas what we're saying is we need to repeat the principle of Bitcoin in order to build a completely different infrastructure, not the financial tool, but the AI tool. Repeat the history to build not a competitor to Bitcoin, but to build a competitor to OpenAI, Anthropic, and Gemini.
I think you need to really think about your 10% of coins and how that changes how people perceive what you're doing.
What we also
you don't need to answer that now.
But yeah, what we also did, we took another 10% and we actually issued it, but we put it on the smart contract of a DAO controlled by all of the miners.
But you've already sold a company successfully, 60 million. I'm just saying, I think it changes a lot of the incentives and the vision and the picture. If this doesn't benefit you financially on the upside. Do you understand the like, if you want to do this, you can't hide who you are now, but you have to be the Satoshis of AI. And if you have to be the Satoshis of AI, it has to be mission without financial upside.
There's only one Satoshi, and it's Satoshi. We cannot be the Satoshi of AI.
But you can be that. Seriously, I mean, if you're right, just for me, that's the message. But like, it's not a question to answer now. This is a philosophical question.
It is. This resource, we honestly believe we will be able to use towards the vision which we want to achieve.
You can sell. In this world, we can sell hope and we can sell fear. That is what it is. We sell hope and we sell fear. Politicians sell hope and they sell fear. Companies sell hope and they sell fear. So
the fear is already there. We're not selling you the fear.
Oh, the fear is there. I know. I see on multiple levels the fear of what's happening to my job, what's going to happen to my kids, and the fear about what this technology is going to do. Is it going to kill me? Like, I know the fear is already there. Like, I fear it myself. Do you know what I really fear? I fear I'm wasting my time working over the next few years and not living the human experience. Because what if something bad happens and I wasted my time on airplanes and hotels when I could have been with my kids?
Exactly. This was the reason of my depression a few years ago. Is it started and then stopped with this new fear. With the new fear of what's going to happen with AI, and it's going to happen fast. And then I just basically woke up. You're like, oh shit, we need to focus on this for as much as possible to make an attempt to build an alternative. I'm not saying like, obviously this is almost as if a David and Goliath situation. So we are trying to challenge not just a handful of US corporations, but the political decision of the previous and current administration, both. It was the Biden's administration political decision to hold all of the GPUs in the United States. And listen to what Jensen is saying. He's like, can't you see this is only a proper right decision to make this where like we have to concentrate it here. This is the way it must be done. But there is another, like, I can see how Sam or Jensen sees this as a positive. Honestly, I'm not trying to portray them as evil people. I honestly believe they want the good for the humanity. It's just a question of like, they have not seen the different paths. OpenAI started as a nonprofit.
Of course.
And converted into for-profit, not because Sam was greedy. I truly believe it's not true. The reason they converted into for-profit is Sam's understanding and vision that if he wants to build the AI, which will save the world, not the Google or Microsoft or Amazon, he needs to get resources, enormous resources, to build data centers with millions of GPUs to compete with those corporations. He just didn't get to the same idea we did, that we can build it all as a Bitcoin. And maybe he was right. Maybe what we're doing right now would have been impossible without what already happened with OpenAI and Anthropic and Gemini. Like, without them actually doing this, we wouldn't be able to get to the point when we can offer a different solution. So the positive view on this is that it is a natural way of things. It couldn't have happened differently. And this is happening right now. And we've seen horrible tragedies in the past, like the world wars of the past and financial crises, like a Great Depression, like all this shit. So not that all of the scenarios will be positive as much as they are natural. Currently, we are racing towards the wall, towards a really bad outcome. Racing. And there is a small chance that we will divert this by combining our efforts into building a decentralized infrastructure. I hope it's optimistic enough.
Gonka.
Gonka.
I wish you guys the best. I'm going to go and take a look at Gonka now. And I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to everyone for listening. We'll see you soon.